بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله
In the name
والصلاة
of
والسلام
Allah and all the
وعلى
praise
آله وصحبه ومن
to
والاه.
Allah and also Prophet
أرحب
Muhammad,
بكم
peace be upon
مجددا في
him.
سلسلة
We would like to welcome you in this series of Ramadan workshop that organized by the World Muslim Communities Council, and where we host a group of thinkers and also scientists to discuss different issues that relate to the Muslim world. Today, we are honored to host His Excellency Dr. Omar Habtoor and Darei, the General Director of UAE Council for Fatwa, who will speak about a very important topic, especially in the world Muslim. Today, he will speak to us about the governance of religious institutions. We would like to welcome you, Your Eminence, and thank you very much for hosting me. Your Excellency, today we will talk about governance of religious institutions, especially now we have different number of institutions, especially in the Muslim councils and Muslim communities. Today we would like to listen to your experience in UAE Council for Fatwa and also the religious institutions in the UAE in general. What are the steps and achievements that have been achieved during this time? The floor is yours. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and all the praise to Allah, and also peace be upon Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his followers. First, I would like to thank the World Muslim Communities Council for organizing such meetings and also for strengthening the communication between the Muslim institutions and also between the beneficiaries and specialized in this area. So, at the beginning of my speech, I was thinking, what is the relation of this topic, especially in these blessing days? And these blessed days, the days of peace, where Allah invited us to spot Laylatul Qadr. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. So we pray to Allah, especially during these days, and at the end of this month, to give us His forgiveness and also to have the blessings from Him and to be freed from the hell. Governance, Mr. Hassan, is not a new term in this month. So if we talk about the word, here it's related to fasting, to be well disciplined, also to be patient, how to stop these things. Fasting, it's stopping doing things, and the wisdom and governance from the same word. So from the different experience, and brain will control the behavior of the person. So governance and wisdom always stop person to be off track, and this is exactly what fasting doing. In the era of artificial intelligence and the fast information, and also in the country of the future, and the government accelerators, it's really a normal topic to speak about. So it's not a luxury now. It's a need, a necessity. So to talk about the governance of religious institutions, and it's a necessity now, because the speech, either religious, is limitless. And also many people out of this limit. So for that, this discussion is very important, especially at this time. This topic needs us to think deeply and also to process in a real way, take notes, and also to scrutinize the different challenges. So hopefully we will talk about this topic from different points. The first one, managing the religious affairs, the modern trends. So managing the religious affairs in the modern time. And here we have different questions. Do you think religious speech is only the topic, or the speech, the comprehensive speech? Are we in need to have governance in our institutions, or to governance the speech or the methods? When we say governance of institutions, that really facilitate the impact of this topic. If we say governance of speech, and this is what's required, the mission will be very important, as we have many people speaking and many speeches, many fatwas, and also many platforms, virtually and in reality. So this great amount, we need to monitor what's happening in the social media regarding the religious speech, and that tell us to ask question. Do we have the capability to governance the thinking, and how the brains attract these ideas? In regards with the institutions, and in many countries, it will have a charitable nature. This nature makes it difficult to do it, especially in governance. For that, the first note here, any governance for the religious institutions, we need to have governance for charity. And here we talk about charity and beyond the religious institutions. We need to agree that the religious institutions has very important role in our life, because it's influencing the community, and its impact go beyond sometimes the nature of the countries. Some people, even influences, has little scientific production, but his influence go beyond the institutions with the huge budgets. So this one person, his impact and influence will be great. Here, the importance of governance. What have we provided for institutions in order to achieve governance and to have influence by this person? When we talk about this, we see the religious heritage, how it depended on persons. These institutions now, and because there's a necessity to have governance in it, it should. So it should have a positive impact. We need to have governance in it, as sometimes they suffer from different aspects, because they need to be monitored. And that's the dangerous aspect of this. Not only on the communities, but different communities. We need here to admit that the institutions, the religious institutions, in general, they suffer from different problems. And every country, and here in the UAE, thank God, with the vision of our senior leadership, we achieve the best practices. So our senior leadership follow up with these trends and see the impact of not governance that. So here is what I'm not talking about. The impact here, we have different aspects. The religious institutions, they are related with the intellectual and ideological aspects. So here, the severity of these impact on the community, because the ideological thinking, and that will open the space for extremism, who are not thinking about the importance of the community, and they will exploit and see the opportunity in this regard. And we have different experiences in this regard. So this reality make it important for people here to have governance for this organization. So the religious institutions, we will think about it as to make use of politically, to control the community, make a profit, and many different reasons which is illegal. So these problems, Mr. Hassan, is very important. And for that, we need to hurry in achieving governance in this organization. The second point, the fragile institutions that are far from governance, that will be a playground for extremism. And here we can talk about this question about the governance of religious institutions. Some people say there is no need for governance in religion. So there's no need for governance. But the Holy Quran defends that. And if we reflect, we see that Allah in many verses of the Holy Quran talk about the scale, and the book in one verse talking about that. The book, scale, and iron. لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوموا الناس بالقسط. So many people or the scientists interpreted that here we need to have to control the whole system, and that lead to good status. So it's not only the Holy Quran, and we here we need to have the responsibility and discipline and competency to be competent. Also, we need to have to control that. And what's here symbolized by the iron. In our time, the laws and legislations that organize and protect the religion interest. And this is the core of speaking about governance in religion, especially in the religion field. The scale and legislations and laws that Allah talked about here and symbolized by the iron. If we speak about governance, we talk about development and good management according to the different development. So the lack of governance will impact the development, and the religious speech should push the community forward. This is what we need from these legislations If the legislation is random and without any organization, it will not create that driver for the people who benefit from this speech in order to focus on the national goals for the communities. So the lack of development related to the lack of governance. The governance now is not only related to the economy, but also related to how we achieve the need of the community. And the national strategies, and to have ethical limits for the people to monitor these institutions, and to have also specialist people in these institutions. If we speak about this topic, that will give us results. Some people, some organizations say governance, but maybe it's a bad governance in order to legalize illegal actions. But we have also national governance. And unfortunately, some extremist people, they always talk about it. They use glowing words. And this is really a big field to speak about. In general, we can emphasize here that the governance, the term of governance, even it's not related to the religion, but in the religious aspect, this use is, especially in the studies, researches, and we can see reality. There is inspiring ones, especially the experience of the UAE, where governance is a standard for all the institutions. And the country, thank God, they don't differentiate between social or economical or even religious institutions. They are all the same to achieve the principles of governance and transparency. So here, governance in the religious field, it's old. And it was evident, if we want to talk about it, and it's clear in, as Mr. Hassan, you can see, in the strict disciplines for the leaders in the religious field. So scientists, they focused on the conditions and also the standards for ethics for people doing fatwa. As Mr. Hassan, you can see in this. And here, to have good morals, to avoid any bad actions, loyalty. So these characteristics, it has impact similar to governance in institutions. So it wasn't like this in the past. The people who used to do teaching, they depended on them, especially for what it's governance or not. In our culture, there is the art of culture to organize pilgrimage or fatwa or managing endowments, mosques, and education, especially religious education. So this model, it's good to study this field and especially talk about the governance in the religious institutions. To focus on a good model So countries in this field, they are not on at the same level. And this is important, especially in describing the other organizations. Some countries, they started to governance their institution and they succeeded. Other countries, they were fragile in dealing with the governance in these institutions. So this is also considered in the study of these institutions and the governance. For the world communities in the West, it's difficult for the monitoring people to speak about governance of institutions. And this really need many sessions to understand the reality of these countries and also to have harmony and partnership with the national trends in these countries. So governance is very important to be related for the Muslims to be just not a worshipper, but also to be interactive, to have harmony in the community where he lives at, and to show the productivity, the morals of the Muslim person. The third point, governance, there is responsibility between the different community and also between the need of religions. So it's a responsibility and community between the need of community and the safe consumption of this need. So there is the difference between these terms. And in different religious institutions, unfortunately, and they're especially talking about speeches, prayers. They were speaking like the motto from you to you. So here, it's according to what people need. This is not right according to a religious institution or governance. We have standards, we have scientific standards internally and externally, responsibility, competences, and also strict supervision. And here we talk about transparency, the nature, the relation of between the beneficiaries, and how to be close to the people and provide the services and needs. These needs, because it's governance, shouldn't as the people want, but also it should focus. Should I handle my organization as people want? As Imam Ahmad said about Mufti, if they don't know people will exploit him. So to understand the human trends, this is very important and successful in supporting governance in our organizations. Definitely there is characteristics of governance in the religious institutions, and it depends on a clear vision and also dependence to serving the country. So here we will see intersection with the personal interest and the quick profits and the acceptance, sustainability, and how to connect between the present and the future. Also the trust and confidence, integrity of these institutions, where talk about the religious speech So here, if you import this speech, even if you are an organization, so this element will make it not successful organization to quickly respond to the community needs and also to be present on social media. As you know, the religious institutions providing services to the community. So at every hour with the community, and here the community monitoring is very important. For example, mosques, every prayer is responsible about the standard of services. These services should be based on the government standards, 5 stars. Even the smells, studying that. For example, when I go to a commercial mall or a market, I find services available at the best level. And when I go to mosques in different communities, they are not providing the same level of services. So here we are not talking about the economy level or standard, but we are talking about doing the best. So it's about quality and not quantity. And many times, when we import speeches from outside the national limits that make these countries under how the instructions, and many times these trends will be on the religious and national interest. And for that, we need to have quick intervention to achieve balance. And this is one of the challenges, and that's why we need to implement governance in order to achieve it on a high level. So here we are talking about the national country and also to make sure to provide the need of the community in order not to go to another institution like a parallel institution or even other institutions that can also market their products. So it's very important here to study this issue from different aspects and to see the successful experiments. So the organization, especially in government, they should provide the services at its level, the 5 stars or the 7 stars, with highest integrity, especially with what people need. And here maybe there are other areas we can implement it, but on governmental or in advanced standards. The 4th point, the challenges for religious institution governance. So governance is a proactive system. And when we speak about this meaning, we need to see some challenges in the field of religious institutions. For example, a country with 40 million people, here the content of this community, the religious will be official, etc. The official through the imams of the mosques. So when we speak about the mosque and the imam, we can see less in some countries. So the governance of the products of these speech is different in other communities. And this is very important. It's true that we say if there's a factory that produces paper, I will not the mistake in each paper, but I will fix the tool. So the machine that issue the product. Here we talk about intangible things. And here we will receive different information and fatwa through social media, through mobiles. Hundreds and hundreds transfer that. So it can reach your mobile without asking for permission to control this amount of speech. Really, it's a very challenging task. In addition to these challenges, especially in managing the religious affairs, to qualify the competencies and the human resource, and also to have financial resources. So for religious institutions, they are not profitable ones. And it's difficult to governance that without governance the charity, as I spoke about it at the start of this meeting. It's very important to identify the goals, transparency, monitoring the quality of the service, implementing laws. So talking about that is very important for the goals, to control, monitor the resources, the outcomes, and also to fighting random and also carelessness, to have qualified people, sustainable ones, the national ones. Another challenge, we still suffer from the official and non-official speech, and this is a big challenge. So in one of the community, you find official and non-official speech, and we will listen to both of them. And that make that we need to promote in governance. It's not only the internal efforts. We need to have legal frame, legislations. So it's a comprehensive system, not only an internal thing. We need to support from different entities in the community and to have clarity of the message that make the society to see this trend. We, thank God, in the UAE, we have beautiful experience in the field of religious institutions governance. And here it's really well noted, and we can generalize it. We can benefit from it, and I invite through the World Muslim Communities Council that we in the UAE, we have a rich experience in governing the religious institutions. Here we talk about the Fatwa in the UAE Council for Fatwa. And here we have high qualified people like Sheikh bin Baya. And also we have services that is provided by the organization to all beneficiaries. This experiment, it was proactive and it was well organized to achieve the organization of the charity work, and also to control the sources of these one in the educational, social aspects. We have national agenda for tolerance. We have standards, indicators for tolerance and moderation. So all the religious organizations, they cooperate to achieve these outcomes, the national outcomes. This is very important in order to achieve governance in the religious speech and also in the religious institutions. So we in the UAE, we have the laws and legislations that defend hate, that face and also fight hate. It has laws and legislations in cyber crimes. Also, it has decisions and laws for fatwa, for mosques. For that, we achieved this building that achieve tolerance and coexistence without hating or even harming people. So it's a big field, but I try to give a summary in this time. So we will talk in a brief and some recommendations, and after that we open the space for questions. There's also specialities for governance, the institutions. We cannot say it's the same as other institutions. What's happening? We achieve the standards in governance in one entity, and we bring it to religious institutions, and maybe the results would not be the same. Why? Because the template for these standards does not apply in the religious field. Even in preparing the religious competencies in the scientists, we have a specialty. We have different level till we will reach to talk about fatwa. If we neglect this meaning and to follow other field, so fatwa, it has got its grades, its levels. We need to discipline, we need to control, and to talk about the speciality of this field. Serving the services and the strategies, the policies. This is the main standard for governance these institutions. For example, we benefit from the objectivity of this term. People will say, we see, we will focus on this experiment, but maybe this experiment doesn't go along with our national agenda. It will not be fruitful. So governance of official speech, influencing and also going through the community. So if you governance the official speech and you leave the non-official speech, it's like the person taking the victim and leaving the attacker. So governance needs to be comprehensive. And this is the problem when the country governs the institutions and not tackling the informal speech. Today, we are in great need to have specializations, courses, jobs in managing the religious affairs. Some people say managing religion. So managing the religious affair, we need to differentiate between studying this, the religion, and studying this specialization, where we talk about managing the religious speech, qualifying, understanding the speciality of this field, and it's developed. So, Mr. Hassan, the different challenges we face, some of the standards have been separated from the national standards and organizing the institutions. So you see the people who stick to it without understanding reality. And this is the challenge. For that, governance of religious institutions in some countries, it's not effective. because it's double standards. They think implementing the religion will not be except with this idea. We need to implement that. So it doesn't go along with what the modern community talk about in governance. So Allah said, وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Talking about this field, we need to talk about it, especially in governance. So governance, the institutions, it's not a luxury. We need to look to it as a great and important input to renew the religious speech and to find methods that can focus on the purposes, the goals, which the religion wanted in the community. Also, governance in the religious affairs is very important in the modern world, and we need to pay attention to it. And we need to understand there is many gaps in our religious institution that we need to tackle, and we need to have a great work in with the partnerships internally and externally, to do studies, evaluate experiences with the other countries' experiences in governance, to know the challenges, and to agree on standards, on international standards to governance the religious institutions that take into consideration the national standards. And this is very new. And that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Darei, speaking about this important topic. These two questions I would like to discuss with you. The first one, some people think that talking about governance, it's a new topic, especially in the religious affairs. So they ask, governance, was it in the field or at the time of Khulafa, or even long time, or it's a new idea that taken from the Western organizations, and after that we affiliated to the religion? The second one, you spoke, Your Excellency, that we need to differentiate between managing commercial institutions and the religious institution. The question, Your Excellency, what is the scale to measure success of religious institutions? Thank you very much for these important questions. Talking about governance as a term, it's emerging term, but this term, it has got different dimensions and meanings. It was evident from the followers' time. If we reflect in sciences, for example, controlling hadith and what the scientists talked about, this is all standards of governance. So we need to look about where it's implemented. So governance here, it stemmed out from the idea, which is organization and organization of the work in order to serve that community. And it needs to look to the current situation. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was considering the situation. If we look at the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, speech, he was talking about how the person used to come and how when you come for the weekly pray, so you hear in one unit about the national guidance, how the concentration this is not random. So to do ablution before the pray, this is all to control that. The prestige of the religion, the prestige of the worshipping, the holiness. So you come in a clean dress to the mosque, you listen, and with the Imam speaking, this picture, nice picture. So his spirit nurture, and he understand what he should do, the Muslim. So here we talk about the organization of the person. What do you think about the organization of the institutions? The purpose of these terms to nurture the main purpose. I spoke about the different organization or the administrative levels. We read about the plan for Fatwa. So to organize Fatwa and Fatwa to be supervised by the country. It was in the Islamic West because there was civilization. So if we speak about that, about governance, and here we talk about the governmental work in general. So it's very important to be implemented in the religious institutions. The charity work, attract a lot of things. And when we hear talk about the generations, the responsibility toward the nation and the message, the world, don't you think we need to strengthen this important point? These concepts, it was very important for the Muslim communities in the past. Sometimes it, especially in the late eras, because of the ideologies, but we need to return it back as there is a lot of purpose in it. If you look at the specialization, as Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, how he was advising when he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen and say to them, make it easy. So Prophet Muhammad, he was active in this regard as he was heading the Islamic country at that time. In the book Al-Furuq, there was different aspects, and I invite the people to read or reread it about in our religious culture, which go along with these standards, the quality standards. So governance set standards, and also you govern your institution according to these standards. If we talk about moderation, like each organization or country has got values. like moderation or mercy or obeying the ruler or the national heritage. So organization need to have that. The second question, I think the second question talk about the commercial institutions. I talk about the successful scale. So in the commercial field, people talk about the success scale to achieve more profit. So what the standards to achieve the success of this institution? To me, the scale here is the country. And this is from what's accepted or not accepted. And if the speech leading and useful for the community and with the competencies in this community to what the country want to serve people and their interest. So this speech for me is a very important standard in achieving governance. The different communities in our era now, they have different options. In each option, it's supported by a specific system or a national system. So if the organization is promoting that, this is very important here. Also to have cohesion and cohesiveness between the organization and other entities. Unfortunately, there is illiteracy here between this organization or the lack of relation in the same field or participating field or influencing field. So there is isolation of some entities. And here the lack of governance. If you have a product, for example, you need to promote it. Open the field, share with others, benefit, and also communicate what help the government and people to understand their religion, invite them to be productive, to be active, and also in their families to be productive in generations that they are aware of that. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. At the end of this workshop, we pray to Allah to benefit the people from your science and to serve Islam and Muslims. I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, and hopefully we will meet soon in other series of workshops for the World Muslim Communities Council. Thank you very much for this host.